Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's GentooMan here, and I just wanted to make a quick video about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I made a video about it already, telling my quick thoughts about it, but the review embargo has officially lifted, and I wanted to make another video about it and get more in-depth on, some spoilers and my thoughts on, some of the finer details of the movie. So this is your warning right now. This video is going to be full of spoilers. If you haven't seen the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, don't watch this video yet unless you really don't care about spoilers, because I will spoil the movie for you, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, click away now if you're trying to avoid spoilers. So I'm just going to hop right into it, and I'm going to say, like I said in my first video, I didn't really like this movie, which kind of sucks. I'm really disappointed because as a fan, I have a long history with Five Nights at Freddy's. I think I've even said this in one of my story times recently, but I remember on Halloween when I was in elementary school way back when, my sister had a party during the day and I had my friends coming over at night, and I didn't really join my sister's party. I kind of just sat at the computer watching Markiplier play Five Nights at Freddy's. And that was sort of my introduction to the series. This was right after the first game came out. And I got really into it. I've been mostly a day one fan, not launch day, I guess, but I've been a fan all the way back since 2014. And I remember when they announced the movie all the way back in 2015. It's been 8 years waiting for this movie. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's one of my favorite video game series. It reminds me of being a younger kid, which is kind of weird for the kind of game that it is. It's really weird that it's popular amongst younger kids, but Five Nights at Freddy's just holds a really special place in my heart, is kind of what I'm trying to say, which is why it really disappoints me to know that I didn't like this movie very much. There's some things that I liked, and I will say that if you are a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, definitely watch it. If you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, even not a diehard fan, but if you're a fan who knows some of the lore and references and whatnot, you'll get some enjoyment out of this movie. And I will say that I've seen this movie 3 times now, and every time I watched it, I found something to enjoy about it. Oh, that's a cool reference, and I found some new ones each and every time I watched it. And that was cool. I'm sure I'd find more if I watched it again. It's probably going to be a while before I watch it again, because it came out officially a couple days ago, and I've already seen it 3 times. So if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, it's an enjoyable movie, and I think you should watch it. It is a fun movie, and I didn't hate that I was watching it. I didn't want to leave. I had fun watching it, but as a movie, it is not good. And if you're not a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I don't think you'll like the movie very much. It kind of feels like it's trying to explain the lore in a new way, because it's not game accurate 100%. It takes some pretty creative liberties. It definitely strays from the source material in ways that I could definitely see it upsetting some hardcore fans. But it feels like it half tries to make new lore that's easier to understand for new fans. But for some of the more important things, it just doesn't explain what's going on really all that well, and just expects you to know it, because the movie is made for the fans. And the fans going in will know what it's about and what's going on. But any new audience member who's not familiar with the story, they're not going to know what's happening. There's a twist that this is the first major spoiler of this video. So we've seen in the trailer Steve Raglan, played by Matthew Lillard, the career counselor. He's William Afton. We know that. And it's just kind of a weird twist in the movie, because Matthew Lillard's not in a lot of the movie. He's in the beginning when he offers the job at Freddy's to Josh Hutcherson's character, Mike Schmidt. And he's in that scene. And then he's at the end in the Spring Bonnie suit where he's revealed to be William Afton. But his character isn't in most of the movie. He's just a career counselor. And then at the end, he's William Afton. And he's also the guy who kidnapped Mike's brother. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's a terrible twist, because he's just that random character from the beginning of the movie who so happens to be the killer. It's not a very good twist, but for the fans, it's William Afton. It's amazing. We finally get to see him. Not that we all didn't know it was William Afton already, but those are the kind of things I'm talking about. It's the the movie is pandering to the fans 100%, and I can respect that. That's a cool way to go about it. A lot of movies don't do that. They don't take the fans into account of the source material. This one really did, and I can tell that they were being 100% honest when they said this movie was made for the fans. A bunch of my friends who are Five Nights at Freddy's fans who saw it actually really liked it, so that's good. But it's just things like that I'm talking about. It's like, it doesn't fully explain it for the new audience members, which as a standalone movie, it's kind of hard to enjoy. You're probably wondering, like, oh, well, I thought you were a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Why didn't you enjoy it? Like, like I said, I had fun watching it, and maybe it's just my brain and how it works with movies, but critically, like, I couldn't really find that much, like, I couldn't call the movie good. I will say I enjoyed it, but it is not a very good movie, unfortunately. But I've rambled on about this for too long. What I did want to talk about quickly before this video ends is I want to say what I would do differently for this movie. So I want to start out by saying that this movie, a lot of people are mad that it wasn't like beginning to end lore, like canon lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. That was never going to happen. There's way too much. It's way too... You can't like click that together in the 2-hour narrative. It's very difficult. So I agree with what they were trying to do. I think they should take some creative liberties and like simplify the story and make it accessible to a new audience, but also make it very appealing to the fans. I think that was a really good like route to take with this movie. So I think what they should have done is, and again, I'm going to hop into basically the summary of the movie here and what I would change. So spoilers, but I've said that already. I think what they should do is there's a lot of things that should be cut out, and these might be controversial, but I think Abby should be cut out completely as a character. She seemed kind of unimportant to me, and some people said they should have swapped her in for Elizabeth, but as far as I understand in the lore, Elizabeth is the first of Afton's kids to die, because for those of you who don't know, I guess Garrett's his canon name now. He was never given a name in the games as far as I know, but it was Mike, then Garrett, I guess, then Elizabeth, in that order, as like oldest to youngest of Afton's children. And I think Elizabeth would already be dead by the time Five Nights at Freddy's 1 happens, so we could address that in a sequel, but I think that whole character and whatever Abby was supposed to emulate could be left out of this movie. And I think they should have not had the career counselor angle. I think they should have just had Mike as a guy trying to find a job because he got fired or whatever, and he ends up finding the famous newspaper clipping from the beginning of the first game, and he already knows about Freddy's because the dream sequence he has is not his brother getting kidnapped, it's the bite of 83, and he can't forgive himself for that, and that's why he's all like paranoid and stuff and like beats up random men in malls or whatever you'd have to change it to. Then he finds the newspaper clipping, the ad for the job at Freddy's, and then he remembers everything. He's like, I can go back, I can fix this, I can make this right. And then he deals with the ghost children. His dream sequences are back at Fredbear's Family Diner. It's the bite of 83, and his whole mission here is to find the ghost of his brother and finally get closure on the whole scenario. And we can have mentions of like the killer, the yellow rabbit throughout the entire movie, but we don't see him until the end. And we don't really know anything about him until he comes back at the end after Mike's shift. All of his 5 nights are over. Then William Afton comes back and tries to deal with the bodies after no one else is there but him. Then the ghosts bully him into the suit, and he gets spring locked and dies there. And then I think the final scene in the movie should be Mike recovering from the trauma. He, made everything good with his brother. He's forgiven himself. And the final scene in the movie is the famous speech from the secret ending of Sister Location. And, probably changed a little bit because some of it does have to do with the events of Sister Location, which we can't cover in this movie. And then the end scene is that whole speech followed by a shot of Springtrap. Just like years later, the suit's broken down. He looks like Springtrap, not Spring Bonnie anymore. And he kind of like jolts to life, and then the movie cuts to black and ends. I think that would be a really good way to do it because it covers 1, 3, and 4, like the important events of those games. into one narrative that covers the lore and is also fairly accessible for newcomers. The only thing it doesn't really cover is Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I guess in the grand scheme of things, or if you're trying to simplify the story, wouldn't matter too much, but if we wanted to get it in there for the fan service, and I guess there is one important aspect of that game, is the puppet. And you could have the puppet just be at the location of Five Nights at Freddy's 1, just another creative liberty, and you can address the fact that that was William Afton's first murder, because I think it was. I'm not completely caught up on the lore, I'm a little behind, but that's how I think they could have made the movie better, and those are my thoughts on the movie. That being said, final verdict, the movie itself, not very good. I've said that. I didn't love it, but it is a fun time if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. So if you haven't seen it and you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, then one, I'm not sure why you watched this video because it's full of spoilers, but even if you saw all the spoilers, there's still a lot of things you can pick out that are fun. I'm not going to completely trash the movie. Am I a little disappointed? Yes. I mean, I waited 8 years for a movie that, like, and I'm not blaming anyone here. It's all my personal preference. I'm seeing a lot of fans who really enjoyed the movie, and I'm so happy to see that. I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh, no, the movie was bad, you're all dumb, everything. I'm seeing so many fans who are loving this movie, and I'm so happy. I couldn't be happier with that. I personally didn't love it, but it is a lot of fun as a fan, so I'm just happy we finally have it. I'm glad it exists. That's good enough for me. I'm a little disappointed in the movie itself for a couple reasons, but I don't hate it. I'll probably buy the Blu-ray when it comes out. It's going to be one of those guilty pleasure movies. It's like, it's not very good, but it's fun to watch, and I'm glad it exists. So, anyways, that's just my thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's. Let me know what you guys thought about it, and let me know if you agree with what I said and what they should have done. Let me know what you think they should have done with the movie, and yeah, let's just get a discussion going. We finally have this movie, guys. It's honestly kind of insane to me that this movie exists. I didn't think it would for so long. Then we got stuff like Banana Splits movie and Willy's Wonderland. We're finally here. We finally have the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm dying to know what you guys think about it. So if you made it this far in the video, number one, thank you. But number two, let me know what you thought of the movie. And that's going to be all from me, you guys. Stay awesome. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.